I'd like to ask your assessment on international banking, your comments on what's been happening in Greece. At the Senate Banking Committee hearing in February, you testified that the Fed was going to look into regarding credit default swaps on sovereign debt. And can you tell us what you found?
We looked at the Goldman Sachs arrangement with Greece is where we put most of our focus. On that, we found that there was, in 2000 and 2001, there was a contract between the Greek government and Goldman Sachs, which, by using exchange rates that were different from the market rates, had the effect of modestly changing the reported debt and deficit ratios that Greece reported to the European Eurostat, their statistical agency. Goldman Sachs sold this position in 2005 to a Greek bank. Couple of comments. One, as I mentioned, the effects, even though they did have the effect of distorting the numbers, were relatively modest, about 1 percentage point. The debt to GDP ratio changed from about 101% to 100%, so it wasn't a large effect, but it was an effect. At that time, when this happened, this of course was well before the Federal Reserve was supervising Goldman Sachs, and it was also before the Enron episode, following which the Fed and other bank supervisors greatly strengthened our rules against arrangements which are basically intended to have accounting impacts, essentially to affect the accounting valuations. We have discussed the issue with Goldman, and they have, as they are required to do, they have a much more elaborate procedure now to evaluate such possible deals to make sure that they are not being motivated by accounting and other kinds of appearance issues. So we believe that situation is now well under control, and as I said, they divested that position in 2005. On the credit default swaps, we haven't found large positions in U.S. banks vis-a-vis European governments, but we have not addressed the question specifically of using CDS to manipulate prices, which of course would be illegal and inappropriate. That would be more an SEC responsibility. I know they're looking at that issue. But again, exposures of U.S. banks via credit default swaps or direct holdings to European governments is relatively limited.
Are you satisfied with the solution Europe has reached? Do you see the problems plaguing Greece spilling over into other adjacent countries or possibly having an impact on the United States?
Well, it's a work in progress. They've made, I think, a good bit of progress, but it's politically difficult because on the one hand, the Europeans don't want to assist Greece unless they're persuaded that the Greeks have made a very good faith effort on their own to reduce their deficit and improve their own fiscal position. At the same time, the Europeans themselves have to agree, how they're going to share the burdens and how they're going to set up the arrangements. I think there's a broad understanding that it's very important for them to come to a solution, and they've made a good bit of progress there, but I think there'll still be further discussions going forward. The United States is not directly involved in these negotiations, but we've been informed I've been informed that they've made good progress and that they are quite confident that a solution will be forthcoming.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Brady.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.